This movie is causing a lot of discourse online, even though it came out only a few days ago. Whether it's the highly controversial marketing campaign, which I'm definitely not a fan of myself, or how drastically it departs from the original novel, which I'll admit I haven't read. And that probably plays a huge role in how I'm experiencing this adaptation. So yeah, let's talk about Wuthering Heights. Directed by Emerald Fennell and starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi among others, Wuthering Heights follows the story of the intense, destructive, and deeply toxic relationship between Heathcliff and Catherine. And this movie starts off very intensely. It opens with this kind of bait and switch sequence that on paper might sound like an interesting idea, but in execution it mostly feels like empty provocation. Something about it is just off. It's chaotic, aggressively edited, almost disorienting, and instead of functioning as a proper introduction, it ends up feeling like a showcase of exactly what kind of movie this is going to be. Eventually, things calm down a bit and we follow our two leads as children, the beginning of their relationship, how they grew up together, what shaped them, and honestly, at this point, the film establishes a dynamic that's actually pretty compelling. It makes a certain emotional sense, and it gave me hope that the story might develop into something genuinely interesting. That continues even after we jump forward several years, when Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi finally take over the roles. Their relationship has evolved, the situation has shifted, and it still feels like the film is building towards something. But then, somewhere around the halfway point, something breaks. After one key plot event, the movie started losing me. And as it goes on, it becomes more and more detached from reality, and keep in mind, this is already an extremely stylized, heightened, and almost overtly affected film from the very beginning. But at a certain point, it just becomes too much. Wuthering Heights crosses that line, and the rest of the runtime exists in this bizarre, ungraspable emotional space where I completely lost my connection to the characters and the story. Suddenly, I couldn't understand anyone anymore. The characters' behavior shifts rapidly, their motivations become unclear, and instead of focusing on the deeper characterizations or emotional development, Emerald Fennell seems far more interested in delivering flashy montage sequences. And to be fair, those sequences are probably where the film works best. The statement that Emerald Fennell would make an incredible music video director is completely true. There are so many montages here that, taken out of context, are genuinely phenomenal. They're stylish, driven, formally exciting, beautifully directed, and the soundtrack absolutely goes hard. But when you keep getting montage after montage instead of meaningful dialogue or actual character moments, it becomes exhausting. Fennell has the eye of a modern filmmaker. She knows how to create gorgeous images and striking scenes, but when style consistently takes priority over storytelling, you run into a serious problem. The entire second half becomes this repetitive exercise where the character dynamics constantly shift in ways that feel unmotivated, and I honestly stopped understanding what was even happening. On top of that, the film seems obsessed with this sense of sexual primality, like it wants to overwhelm you, seduce you, excite you, but because it always stays stuck in this endless foreplay zone and never actually commits to anything deeper, it ends up feeling almost comedic, like self-indulgent teasing that doesn't lead anywhere. And the intercourse itself is rather mellow and not memorable. I was in a pretty packed theater and I caught myself laughing far more often than the rest of the audience, which made me realize that I was probably laughing at moments that weren't meant to be funny. And because the film felt so bizarre and unintentionally comedic to me, the ending completely missed its mark. Suddenly, the movie wants to hit you with these huge emotions, but how is that supposed to work when the film never built a solid emotional foundation in the first place? It never went deep with its characters, it spent most of the time performing these mannered montages and exaggerated intensity without earning it. I never even understood what the characters truly wanted, so when I heard half the theater pulling out tissues, sobbing and crying, and I felt absolutely nothing, that was genuinely strange, and I just don't understand what happened in the theater. It almost made me wonder if this film just works better on casual audiences, but because on paper it feels way too bizarre, too kinky, too sexually driven, but like, it just kind of landed universally, in my theater at least. and I'm just really shocked by that. Modern audiences just seem drawn to it, and honestly, I get that. I would love more fearless, sexy movies that aren't afraid to lean into the weirdness, but weirdness alone can't carry a film. You still need strong foundations, and Wuthering Heights just doesn't have them. That said, it's not all bad. Those montage sequences are technically really impressive. The work that must have gone into the sets, the costumes, the production design, it's honestly incredible, and we shouldn't dismiss that. And I genuinely rather watch all the behind scenes features because I suspect that they'd be more interesting than the movie itself. If some features, come out, I'm definitely checking them out. Another huge highlight is the cinematography by Linus Sandgren. Obviously, he's one of the best working today, and he proves it again here. Some shots are truly magical, and the film has a phenomenal look. His camera, along with the set design, is honestly what saves the second half, because without those elements, it would have been painful to sit through. And it's honestly encouraging to know that Sandgren is shooting Dune Part 3, because we really don't need to worry about the absence of Greg Fraser. If you've got this far into the video, comment Dune Part 3 hype. Another thing that works really well is the soundtrack. This time I actually noticed how much the music was elevating scenes, which doesn't happen to me often. Although maybe that just speaks to the fact that I didn't have much else to hold on to. Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi are fine, I guess, but their characters are so confusing that I genuinely don't know what impression I was supposed to take away. And it kind of feels like even they weren't entirely sure either. So overall, very strange characters and very strange performances. But I'll admit, I wasn't bored. Maybe that's just because I was with my friends, and as I said, we were laughing more than Fennel intended. If I had watched this alone, I think I would have been genuinely bored, but at least the experience was entertaining in its own weird way. So yeah, a really strange film making some deeply confusing choices. The discourse is already heated, and I'm curious how it evolves because it only seems to be getting more intense. And just to end this off, I don't hate Emerald Fennell, even though I haven't truly loved any of her films, but I can confidently say this is not the way, at least not for me. 2.5 out of 5, which is kinda weird giving this an average score because it's not like average in any means, it just kind of evens out, Most of it didn't work, even if you can't deny the cinematography, the set design, the soundtrack, and the technical craft in general. But beyond that, yeah, it kinda sucks. Anyway, that's all I've got. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, it would genuinely help me out a lot. And if you've seen Wuthering Heights, let me know what you thought in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a good one.